The first thing we're going to do with this, because we're doing baked spiced apple creme brulees, basically just baked apples with the creme brulee top, and then you cook it off and then caramelize the top. So starting off, the first thing we do is make the apples. Now I actually did that before, as y'all can see above me, to make sure that we had enough to do the demo and for me to actually show. The apple recipe is really, really simple. In restaurants, we normally use 1 can to 1 box. So it's 2 pounds of apples, give or take, to a pound of sugar. I normally like using dark brown sugar because it gives a lot more flavor. You get a lot more of the molasses-y, in my opinion, it's like a southern tint to it as compared to doing it with like normal sugar, and it's a very clean flavor. But I really do like the dark brown sugar because it makes it more how I grew up eating it.
So you could use cane?
Of course, it's good if you use fresh Granny Smiths, the other apples, but canned apples are perfectly fine for this, especially where it's more of an add-in to what you're doing, unlike where when we did the granola, we did, really good chocolate, really good. The better quality ingredients you can do, of course, the better product, but the apples canned are perfectly fine. You're cooking them until they fall apart anyway, so it works. So get all those together and mix them. Add the cinnamon. We actually use right around 3 tablespoons. I normally just sprinkle it on top until I see everything's coated, and then kind of mix it together until it's all good and mixed. Then you just bake it off 325 for 20 minutes. This one I ran a little bit faster at 500, but I wanted more color on it. Of course, the longer you cook it, the more color, the softer the apples are going to be. So after we get the apples done, we let them cool. Because if we put the hot apples underneath this, it's going to cause it to cook the moment they hit. And we want to be able to cook them in a water bath so that they will come together a lot nicer as a custard. So the creme brulee is one of the things that everybody likes talking about. It's one of the really big drawing points. It's really pretty. You can do it thousands of different ways. The base recipe that you have here is the one we use here. I do not use, same with the apples, I do not use white sugar in anything but tea here. Everything is the dark brown sugar. So that's the reason why when y'all come and get a creme brulee, it's a little bit darker than they normally would be. But in my opinion, it has more flavor instead of just being a creme brulee. So actually getting down to it, first thing we need to do is get the cream on. I use 1 quart, and that's going to make roughly 8. As I said, I doubled the recipe that we did, and I made 16 because that's how many, a little bit over what I thought would be here. So first thing we need to do is scald the cream. I'm going to go ahead and get that going. Basically, we're just looking for it to develop a skin on top, stirring it a little bit constantly to make sure. And I'm just going to go ahead and pour this in this pan here on this induction burner. And I got my spatula already set down in it. Now 1 quart's going to fill the pan pretty hot, so I'm going to have to keep an eye on this as I'm running everything else. But I'm going to go ahead and just get everything going. So that's half and half. You can use heavy cream. Just straight heavy cream works amazingly well. The higher the fat percentage, the better the flavor. But I figured with all the sugar that we already have in the apples, doing it a little bit lighter with half and half would be a lot better for this. So it's not a really, really, really rich dessert. This is a lot. It's really good. We tried one before we actually got started. So I'm going to go ahead and get this turned on. Apparently I'm having technical difficulties. Can't follow that happy. Okay. So that noise is just the induction burner turning on. I have it set around 300, which would be about halfway. Yet again, I'm not looking for it to boil. I'm just looking for it to get hot and develop a skin, and that's going to help hold everything together. Now, while I'm letting that warm up, we're going to take the sugar, and we use 1 cup of dark brown sugar. I normally just measure by eye, but yet again, I've been doing this for a good little bit. The lumps especially in brown sugar where it develop the hard little lumps and they're kind of hard to get out. Normally I just have one left over that I'll pour the last one in, and that will have all the impurities and everything. And that's the one I normally either give to my staff, or it's a really good equivalent for it, because then you can be able to taste it and I'm not really wasting anything off that. So the next thing after we get the sugar in is we have to put the egg yolks. Personally, I really don't like separating eggs. My hands make it rather difficult. I normally break the yolks, it normally falls apart. So I use a 2-container method. Since I already have one in there, one was kind of small, so I'm going to put one more. 6 egg yolks per 1 quart is the ratio that we're using. I'm going to go ahead and get this one cracked and be able to add that in. And all you do is let it slide in between your fingers, and then you'll get it and pour it right on in. All right, so that puts that last one in there. So then I'm just going to take that and dump it down in the bowl. Yet again, using the technique that we did during the vinaigrettes, where I had a napkin or paper towel underneath the bowl to be able to make sure it doesn't spin on me, because here in a moment when that starts, it's going to be very important. And all you do is you just mix all this together. You want one homogenized mixture. Now while I'm doing this, do y'all have any questions about what we've done so far?
I do have one question.
Sure.
When the recipe says, I use the light brown sugar for a lot of recipes, but when it says packed down, a cup packed down, does that mean I usually put it in there, pack it down, and then put some more, pack it down until I get it level on top? Is that too much brown sugar?
No, that's exactly what they're asking when they ask for it packed down.
Okay.
Where anything that comes granulated, it can get very aerated, or it can be packed depending on how it comes in. I know our brown sugar, when we get it in, the moment I open it's a brick. Like I have to cut it open before it will move at all. So we don't really have to pack it down.
It's already packed.
Yes. But where you buy it in the store in light brown sugar, where you get it in like the bags, the more time those bags are moved, the lighter they are. So it's going to kind of aerate it inside the bag, and they just ask for it to be packed. So my recipe, when I say that, it's going to be exactly what you do at home,
Okay.
as compared to, you know, you just take a scoop of it, throw it in,
Right.
and that's it. But we got all that mixed together. It's nice and mixed. See how it's kind of sticky all the way through? And that's exactly what we're looking for. I'm just trying to make sure I get all of that off the edges. Put that right down there. Now, the heavy cream is going. I do feel a little bit of heat off of it. I'm going to put a little pinch of salt. This is not actually in the recipe. This is more of a personal push on it. Because when you put the salt in, I really don't know what it changes. But in my opinion, I've had it both ways, and it just adds a little bit of extra. So then you just come in and make sure that's stirring. We'll go ahead and turn it up since I can focus all my attention on it. Now, I don't know whether y'all can see that or not. I'm going to try to lift it and put it over there. But you see how we're getting a ring around the outside edge when I move it? That's what we're looking for. I know, I'll pick the bottom. I'm starting to get the skin on it just like I want it. And that's what it means by scorched. You just want it to develop a little bit of skin on top. And I know with a lot of the soups that we do here, the heavy cream based soups, when I put it in, this is the consistency that we're looking for to call it done. To make sure that skin is on top, because it gives it a lot better product. Now where this is half and half and not heavy cream, it's going to take a little bit longer. So while it's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and start over the rest of the process. So this is my setup, a little bit smaller than what I used in the back. Just a 2-inch tall pan and oven-safe baking dishes. And you just fill the pan up. This one has a line on it. You're looking for about halfway up the containers when you're putting it. I normally use the hottest tap water I can. I know at one of the other restaurants I worked at, we used coffee maker. We just turned the coffee maker on, didn't have any coffee in it, just let it run a pot of hot water. And we pour that in the bottom, and you want that water to be as hot as it can be. That way it's not having to come to temperature in the oven. Now, if you're doing this at home, this is about the time you want your oven to be preheated. You're looking for 325 degrees. Any more over that, you're gonna look at a lot browner. It's not really gonna cook as well. And any lower than that, it's gonna take a lot longer to cook. But ideally, you're looking for it to be solid, but it won't be solid all the way through. These are ones I've already done, and that one is because we got it cool. But you see how full up they are on top? When we get them going, we put the apples on the bottom. And yet again, make sure they're cold before you do. That way it won't cause that to preset. All right. Sure enough, we're getting the skin. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn that off because we're exactly where we need to be. And I'm gonna try to hold that up so y'all can see. Y'all see that little bit of shiny on top? If y'all want to come up and have a look, y'all can. Because this is one of those that, this is what makes my staff think that this is a really, really complicated recipe. Because you're looking for,
Still don't see.
yeah. Go ahead and put it down so it ain't shaking as much. All right.
When you stir it up.
It does. But that's, you're looking for that texture. And it does go away rather quickly, but you're not trying to cook the cream. You're just trying to get it a little bit congealed. So then we have to temper it. Because if I pour this hot directly in the egg mixture, it's going to make scrambled eggs with sugar. And nobody wants that. Like so we have to do a process called tempering. Now, I have this set up with a napkin underneath it, so my bowl won't move when I'm stirring, because that's very important. Well, it's going to try to spin on me no matter what I do. So we come in here and we sprinkle a little bit on top as I'm stirring it in. And you just try to make sure it's all mixed in. Yet again, going slowly, slowly, slowly. And I can really see the skin on it now while I'm doing this, because you'll see chunks go over the edge. And yet again, I know that doesn't sound that appealing, but when it comes all together and that egg gets cooked, you want those to hold the egg together. It'll make it a whole lot creamier on the end. So about right there. Y'all see the color difference from where it was before, how dark that was? That means that it's actually good for me to go ahead and dump the rest of this in. And I'm going to just do that slowly while I'm mixing that in. I'm doing this as a showcase batch. That bag of sugar is a little bit on the crunchy side. All right. I'll go ahead and dump all that in. Now, I ain't going to say, y'all do this at home, it does do a number on pots and pans. But we just put that down. See all that where it's kind of stuck on? That's the scalding that you're looking for. When you put it in, you don't try to pull up any of that, especially if you get a layer, because the moment you do that, you'll give a burnt taste to the end product. So we have that all mixed. It's kind of foamy right now because of the egg yolk. So I normally let that sit until the egg, bubbles kind of level out. What we're going to do is come in and do this last little part. All right, perfect.
You put the vanilla in there?
Mm-hmm. The vanilla, when you put it in, can be in a lot of different places on this. Normally when you do that, the moment you start seeing that skin come up and you turn it off, you can put the vanilla in. Thank you for reminding me because I almost forgot. But we're going to come in and we're just going to drop a couple drops. And yet again, just mix that on in. Now y'all notice there's one product sitting on the table that I haven't used yet. That's that sugar on the very end. Ideally, when you're doing crème brûlée, you use turbinado sugar, which is a raw sugar. Sugar in the raw is a brand name of the product. They have a lot of different ones of it, but it caramelizes better.
Is it brown?
A little bit. It is good.
You don't have to.
Oh, yeah. I need to show it anyway because I'm not going to use it. I brought it out to show it, but I normally use brown sugar on all the ones that we have because it truly is what we have in the bag. It has a whole lot of crystal, like they're bigger than they normally are. make sure I can put it to where y'all can see it and I'm not in the way.
And if you put that on the top of muffins or cupcakes or something, before you cook them, it just stays crunchy.
If you use egg white, which is a wonderful way to use up the egg whites from this, and egg wash it, and then sprinkle it on there, the sugar crystals will actually stay whole while you're cooking it through, and it'll add a shine to the top of it. I know I normally do that with like danishes and other baked goods that you bake from scratch. You egg wash them and just sprinkle sugar on them, and that sugar does really, really well for it. So we're going to come in, and we're going to take these apples, and we're going to dump them into the bottom of the thing. I normally do about half full, but yet again, this is a dessert. I'm not trying to make this a meal all the way through. Oh, we got spoons. Everybody's going to have a little bit to try. And these are, I love this recipe for apples. Honestly, for using for breakfast, I'll just take it and put a little bit of melted butter in with them, put granola and a little bit of yogurt. It's the best breakfast you can think of. Now, my bubbles aren't going to settle out in the time that we're going to do this. So I'm going to take that's all mixed together, and I'm going to go ahead and pour it in. And you're looking for it to be filled up a little bit below the rim. Now, I know they make creme brulee dishes that are smaller. You can do that with this, but I would recommend that if you do that, you would cook the apples a lot longer until they fall apart. So you get like an apple coulis on the bottom instead of doing the bigger chunks, which is, I like the bigger chunks. I just like apples. I really do. So then I take that, put the very hot tap water in until it touches that line. The hotter the better. And I'm going to put it in a 325-degree oven for right at 30 minutes. They're not going to be all the way congealed when you pull them out. As they cool, they solidify. These that have been cooked for a little bit, they're solid. They don't tilt, they don't do nothing. When they were hot, if you pick them up and you move them, they'll slide around in the bowl. Like everything will move, it doesn't look set at all. But as it cools, everything's just going to harden out. So that brings us to the last and final part of baking these. When you get them out, you cool them off. I normally get an ice bath, same pan that I cooked them in, drop them down in the ice and let them cool out until they get nice where I can pick them up and touch them. Then I'll wrap them and put them in the refrigerator and wait until they're ordered here. At the house, I have them in the refrigerator for when I want them. They last for about a week. I mean, this very simple process makes something that you can keep in your refrigerator, and it's a showpiece item. Somebody comes over, you really want to impress them, bring them a creme brulee at the end of the meal. So, the last and final step to this, I'll grab the thing out again so I don't wet down the tablecloth. I'm going to glove up one hand, put a little bit of sugar on it. Now, I know in the recipe, it calls for 6 to 8 tablespoons for topping. I use a pinch. Well, if you're doing 8 of them, it equals out to about a tablespoon. One, I normally just do a pinch and then smooth it around with a glove finger. That way you can get a better idea of what you're looking at for it. And I'm just getting in, breaking it up where it's really well packed and put it in. Smooth that on out so that everything's covered. Then, bring the torch up. Each one of these works different. Make sure you read your instructions. Flames are very, very dangerous at points. Now I'm going to get it at a good even flame, and I'm just going to bring that in. Tell me when y'all can see that, because I'm trying to make sure y'all can see how it's starting to bubble. That's ideally what we're looking for. Now you don't want to burn it. The moment you start seeing steam, just stop. We'll go ahead and turn it off. And that's a done creme brulee. That's it. That's all this is.
Okay, what do you use if you don't have one of those torches?
Oven. You turn your oven on broil. Get the good heat from the top. Stick it in. I know here when we use the turbo chefs, it took about at a minute and 30 seconds to caramelize the top, but I was running it at the baked setting, so it gets a lot of heat from the top, which is the reason why whenever y'all ordered a creme brulee here until I got the torch, they were scalding hot when we brought them to the table because we had to caramelize them in the oven. We had no other way around that. But that is the full set. So, any questions? This is really one of those that you can play around with it and add stuff to it and add flavors. I know I did one with cream of coconut instead of the heavy cream. And then we put black cassis on top of it. Cassis, it's a type of currant, I think. It's just when I was using it, it's a baking flavoring that came in a container. And it's like a sweeter blackberry kind of flavor. And you just smooth that on top. And then put the sugar on top and caramelize all of it together. Technically, you could do a peanut butter and jelly one if you put peanut butter in your creme brulee, but the options are endless. That is all I'm trying. You can change this recipe about any way, as long as you have the high fat in the cream and the egg. You can add anything else you want to it. You can do straight like a pina colada one with pineapple, like the chopped pineapples on top, the coconut milk in the creme brulee. It just thousands and thousands and thousands of options. And that's part of the reason why I really do like these. Because even for busy small kitchens, they work really, really, really well. Now, while I'm coding the recipes, any other questions, comments? Because these are all for you. I got a whole nother pan back here.
Are you serving them tonight as a dessert?
Y'all are getting them before y'all leave. We got spoons and all.
What's your favorite ingredient to put in? Is it apples?
I really am a simple person when it comes to that. I love apples. For dessert, apples are one of my all-time favorites. But yet again, I have family that during apple season, we go up and down and we buy bushels of apples and we break them down in the family. So all through that is a good concept, good run through. And it's normally one of those things I can have about year round, depending on how you save them. And all I'm doing is just caramelizing the top. And when y'all come up here to taste, make sure you grab an extra spoon and try the apples themselves. All right, I got a whole batch ready. We ready for the second one?
Are the torches very expensive?
I think I got this on Amazon for like $12.
Oh.
They're not really expensive. You just got to look for what you're comfortable using. I like using the butane ones, and I like it when they have the fill container, especially for in a kitchen. You have other people using them besides me. I don't want to pick it up and have it empty, especially when I have orders waiting. So if y'all want to go ahead and come on up and give a try, we'll move these over because these aren't exactly ready. But those are. We got spoons and apples. And I'm going to go ahead and grab that other batch from the back and get those caramelized up for you. I really do hope y'all enjoyed the class. I hope y'all enjoyed